In this video, I'm going to show you how I made this little name plaque key fob here. Name plaque key fob is the right phrase to use. Key fob with a name on, I guess. This is a prototype that I just threw together. And there's a few things that I've identified have gone wrong with this. As you'll see when I show you the CAD file, I've literally kind of cut down into the V there and up into the A, which I fear makes this rather fragile. I'm just going to see if I can break this. Yes, I can. I can break that on the V. So I need to make sure I don't do that. And I also feel as if the plastic around the loop here was too thick, because when I opened up the key ring here to wrap around the key fob, it actually stretched the key ring, and I can see there that actually has got slightly damaged. So I'm going to have another look at this. I'm going to analyze where I think I went wrong with this and give it another shot. So here we go. Let's have a look. This is the CAD file I was working with. Now, I'm working on a pixel art grid with this simple kind of pixely font on, which I've used in another video tutorial, and I'm going to assume that you've either seen that video tutorial or you're okay to get this graphic. Basically, I've scaled it here. There are actually 46 squares across. These are 5mm squares, so that means that would be 460 millimeters. If I half that, because they're 5mm squares, and basically I'm looking at centimeters have 10 millimeters. I hope I'm making sense here. Then 46 squares at 5mm per square, that would be 23 squares. So that's 230 millimeters. And in the same way here in the y-axis, that would be 40 squares. That effectively is 45mm squares, which is 20 centimeters, which is 200 millimeters. I'm hoping that's all making sense. Anyway, let's come down here and have a look at what I've done. I've basically taken the DAVID from this font grid, and I've moved them down here. In fact, I'm going to go through that whole process again, I think, right now, and then I'll see what else I need to change. So here we go. Let's first of all take the D. I'm going to copy this and paste it. Now I notice straight away that I've got step lock turned on, not grid lock, which means that if I move this around now, it's not going to be snapping necessarily onto the grid. Now, by some fluke there, it did, but you can see that was simply a 1 in 25 chance. But I'm going to delete that. I'm going to undo it, shall I say. Let's go on to a grid lock here, sorry, and let's now paste that in again. And now I can see that is snapping onto my grid. Let's move it to there. Okay, let's take the A, copy, Control-C, Control-V, I, Control-C, Control-V, etc. I think I'm going to pause at this point. Can I pause? Okay, right. So there I've got the DAVID. Dear me, I am struggling on this hot afternoon, stuck indoors, aren't I? There we go. That is better. Looking for an excuse for not just being able to spell the word David. Now then, one of the things that occurred to me with the one that I created here was I felt, before I broke it, I felt as if perhaps the lettering was all a bit too close together. So what I'm going to do here is over here, I spaced the lettering out with just a 5mm 1 square gap. So what I'm going to do up here actually is space these out a little bit more generously. So let's just take that to the left. I've got a centimeter gap here, or 2 5mm squares separating the A and the D. I'm going to put the same here. Let's now take the I, so it's going to be like this, and then the D, so it's going to be like this. Okay, so now I just feel as if that is going to space out a little bit more successfully. And while I'm at this, I'm a bit worried about that the dimension I'm getting in the way there. So let's move that out of the way a little bit there. Gives me a bit more space to maneuver. Okay, now I don't want to cut the lettering out. What I want to do is actually make the lettering black, and I'm going to show you 2 ways of doing this. First of all, let's select the writing there. Let's make sure the line color there is black, because I don't want to cut it out. There we go. Super. And what I'm going to do now instead is look at filling these letters in black. So it's going to engrave the letters using the laser cutter. So to do this, first of all, I'm just going to put my color back to black there, just for general use. Now, let's select these letters. Now, you'll notice that when I select the D, it's actually all grouped together. In fact, it's more than grouped together. It's actually made into a path. And I'm going to have to undo what I've done here and do it all again so you can see what happens. I'm going to go to edit at this point. You won't have to do this, but I'm going to go to edit. I'm going to explode this drawing by one level. And what that now means is, explosion complete, is that I have got the counter in the middle and I've got the outline of the letter. Okay, this bit in the middle here is called a counter. Now, if I wanted to fill this, if I group it all together, select this, edit. No, first of all, actually, let's select the object. Let's go to fill, solid, black. Okay, now the whole thing is now black. You'll notice that there's a black outline and a black counter. That's obviously not what we want. So let's take this and let's edit and group it. Group complete. Now, absolutely nothing has changed apart from now I've got two black fill shapes grouped together. Okay, so that's not what I want to do. Let's edit ungroup. Now, instead of that, I'm going to select them both. Okay, done. I'm going to go to edit and make path. Okay, and look what happens. It realizes that what I want to have is the space filling or between the counter and the external profile to be filled in black, but the middle here wants to be clear. Okay, so that is how we can make sure that we fill shapes. We don't group things together, we make paths from objects. You'll notice that when I went to make path, it said this is going to combine the vector lines here into one continuous vector or one vector shape. Okay, or like grouping, which basically means I can take dissimilar objects like graphics and vector lines, etc., and group them together. And they're still separate objects, but selectable as one thing. Another way we can actually do the fill here, just while we're looking at this, is come to the bound fill tool, which is a little bit clunky and I don't like it as much, but we can see. It's going to create a line which is going to be invisible, and I want to have a fill which is going to be a solid black. And I'll click on OK. Now, if I'm going to do something like on the Y, I click on the inside edge and there's no islands. The I, inside edge, no islands. If I go to the D here and I see there's no islands, it fills the external profile. Of course, I don't want that. What I want there to be, let's come back to the bounding fill tool. I want to click on the inside edge. And yes, there's an island. This counter becomes an island. I'm going to click on the external edge of this. Any more islands? No, and it fills in appropriately. Now, I don't find this as elegant as using this tool over here because it means that I get the original shape plus I get this kind of filled profile. So I actually like the fact that over here, I literally took my original vector lines and I basically gave them a black fill. So I just find that far more elegant. Okay, so at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video. I'm going to undo my bounding box fills here because I don't like that as much. I'm going to go ahead and make sure these are all made into a path, not group, but made into a path with the counters included for the A, for example. I wouldn't have to do that for the V and the I, of course, because there's no counters in those. And I'm just going to make sure that they are filled in black. So I'll pause now and then we'll come back and carry on. Okay, so there we go. I've done that process. All my letters are filled in black. Now let's see what's happening next. Then I wanted to do this cutout outline. And to make sure that the outline worked, what I did was I drew some little black lines across like this to separate the letters so that the cutout came in when I was separating the letters. But I didn't want the cutout to come all the way down here and chop the letters off. So the idea of this black line here is it's providing a profile for my contour tool to go around. Now, to make sure you understand what I'm talking about here, I guess I'm going to have to do here is come up to here. Let's actually do a contour that those black lines in place. And down here, you'll notice that I had a 2.5 millimeter contour. And my feeling was that gave me an outline to the acrylic that was too narrow. I actually want to bulk that out a little bit. Okay, well, I'm going to go with my 2.5 to begin with, and just so you can see what goes on here. Let's get the contour tool. Here's the contour tool. I'm going to have this as a tool path, and you'll see the difference here. There's a very good, I probably won't explain why it does this because it's going to take too long, but you'll see what the difference is going to be. If I go the tool path at 2.5 millimeters and I click on these letters, notice that it just individually, outlines them with this 2.5 millimeter spacing. I don't want that. I want them to all be joined together. Just notice while I'm doing this as well that it has curved edges if it's a toolpath contour. Well, very briefly, that's because it's designed for milling machines. And if you had a circular milling machine head as it went around the corner, you'd want to follow that curvature profile for it to just mill against that corner. If you don't get it, don't worry about it. But let me see. I'm going to undo that contour as well. Let me just do a contour, which is going to be a graphical path. And you'll notice now that when I click on the D here, it literally follows the graphical edge there, which gives it a corner. I don't want that. I like the idea of having the little rounded edge. So I'm going to go with the toolpath contour. Let's just now change this. As I said, I felt as if 2.5 was too small. I'm going to go with a 5mm toolpath contour, which I think is going to be better than what I had down here. And let's just click again here. And notice now that it's going round them, but it looks a bit strange. In fact, this could be really cool. As you're looking at this, what I quite like the idea of now, this is awesome, is actually going to the contour tool, right click. Now I'm going to do a 0mm toolpath contour in blue. Oh, this could be so nice. Let's have a see how this looks. Yeah, so that's going to be my lettering all cut out. That's actually really funky. My original plan here was let's leave that on the side there. I'm actually going to put that to there, and I'm going to pick all this up, and I'm going to drag that one to the right. So I think it's going to be a little bit easier to see if they're lined up like that. I'm going to undo all these. I'm just playing around here and trying things out. Okay, I'm going to go with my original idea now of getting my little black lines. Black here, and basically just blocking this off. And this is where I made the mistake with my original prototype here with the V, because I didn't block that off, and basically it cut all the way in and it weakened the plastic by having it very thin just at the base of this V. So I want to block it off at the top there. Whoops, today's I went too far there. Let's just undo that and do that again. Need to concentrate, man. Here we go. Let's do that there. Bring that across there, there, and there. Okay, so I'm going to do that. And now let's come back to the contour tool. It's going to be a 5mm at this point, 5mm toolpath contour. Let's do this in blue. I'll actually want to have it in black, but I'll do it in blue for the time being. And click, okay. And so what I've got here are two variations of this. I'm going to grab, let's go everything. Let's take everything up a little bit here. Let's now take this contour path, bring it down here, and let's compare the two. Yeah, okay. Well, we've got two different perspectives there, but it's really interesting. I'm going to do both. I'm going to make both of them and see how they both turn out. Okay, so I'm going to bring that one back up to there. And what I'm going to do now here as well is I'm going to select my letters. So select, shift, select, shift, select, shift, select, shift, select. I'm going to copy those, paste them. I've got gridlock turned on. I'm going to snap it in there. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, so I've got my two models to work with. Now I need to have a look at what's happening with where the key fob loops around. Now, when I did this key fob design down here, let's come to the circular dimension tool here. I gave this a diameter of 12 or a radius of 6, and I gave that a diameter of 5 or radius of 2.5. I'm going to keep with this 5mm for the hole because that seems to give me, just enough space there for the key ring to go through. I'm really liking that, and it's 5mm acrylic, so I like the idea of it being 5mm acrylic, and I like the idea of the hole being 5mm across. Let's have a see, but I'm going to reduce this down to 10. So, but before I do, hang on a second. This isn't going to work yet, is it? I've got something else to talk about. What I now need to think about is the fact that these key fobs are going to be massive. If I just get another dimension line tool here, let's get a horizontal dimension line tool there, bring this in. This key fob is going to be 16 centimeters in length, and that's obviously way too big to put on your set of keys. Now, the set of keys, the key fob that I created here was 40mm in length, and I'm thinking I'm going to make this new one. Oops, got wrong. There it is. I'm going to make this new one just a little bit bigger. I'm going to make it 50mm in length. Okay, so let's have a look here. You notice here that this one, I've mirrored it. Let's just grab that. In fact, let's just take this and let's just mirror that back. We'll look at mirroring in a second. Let's just cancel that and cancel that. There we are. That was 40. Okay, so I want to go from 160 down to 50mm in length. So let's have a think how that's going to work. Let's bring up calculator. So I'm going to take 50 millimeters, and I'm going to divide it by the current length, 160, and that's going to give me a scale factor here of 0.31, let's say. Right, so I'm going to cancel that. Let's minimize it, shall we? And now what I'm going to do, let's take this design here. In fact, I'm going to take this design here, and I'm going to bring that down to there, because I want to try and keep space for everything. That looks nice. Okay, I'm going to bring that dimension, I'm going to delete that dimension line, and I'm going to bring it up to there. So it's kind of off the drawing area. That's better. I've got space underneath. Okay, let's now take all of this, and for good measure now, let's group it together. Good. Okay. Now I'm going to come to the transformation tools, and I want to choose the one that does the alter the size of the selected objects. Okay. I see I've been doing this already, haven't I? I'm going to put this to 0.31. Tab 0.31, that's in the X and the Y axis, and I'm going to repeat it. One repeat, and now I'm going to click on that bottom corner. Boom. And what I get is this little baby version. And because it's all grouped together, I can bring that down, and that's going to be my little key fob. Now I'm just going to compare that to what I had down here. Let's just compare side by side. Yeah, and that's definitely going to be, a little bit bigger. It's looking good. I'm happy with that. Okay, right. So let's do the same thing over here. I'm going to take all of this. I'm going to group it together to make my life a little bit easier. Okay, there we go. Group complete. Now then, let's now come to that transformation tool again. Okay, it's 0.309999 recurring. I'm not going to worry about it. Repeat, come down here. I've got a grid lock on, snap it in. There we go. I can now grab this, bring it down here. So these are going to be my key fobs. Absolutely wonderful. I'm just going to bring it in a little bit here so I've got more space to the left. And now let's have a think about how I'm going to be putting in this loop. Okay, right. So I'm now going to come to the circle with a given center and radius. And here what I want to have, I'm going to go with let's go with a 2.5 mm radius. Let's go with the middle one first. I'm going to come into step lock here. And what I've done with step lock is, no, it's 1 millimeter. I thought I'd change that. So I've got a 1 millimeter step lock spacing here. I'm going to zoom in here, and I want to have this. I'm going to keep this blue. I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to decide where I want to have a little key fob appearing. And I'm going to put it, I think, right. I'm going to put it right there. Okay, is that, I'm going to be happy with that. No, I'm not. No, I'm going to put it there. Let's put it there. Now I'm going to come back to here. I'm going to right click on this tool. I'm going to enter my radius of 5, which is going to give me my 10 millimeter diameter, not 12. And I'm going to drop that there. Okay, so let's do the same process up here. In fact, all I actually need to do, because effectively it's almost the same thing, I'm going to take that, I'm going to copy it, paste it, and then I'm going to bring that and I'm going to pop it up to there. Now, at this particular point, it's a bit fiddly getting in the right position. So what I'm going to do is delete that, turn on grid lock. Now I paste, and now it's magically going to snap in. He says, if I can click properly there, to exactly the same spot. Okay, now I'm almost there with this. I've got to look at the use of blue lines. I definitely do want to cut this in a line out here for the key fob, but for this one here, I don't want to cut that out because it's going to fall off. And I don't want to cut around at the outline here because it's also going to cut off where the key ring is going to attach. So I'm going to take that line, and I'm going to take my contoured outline. Oh, I've grouped this together, haven't I? Let's ungroup that. It's going to be Edit, Ungroup, or Control U. Okay, ungroup it. Magic. I'm going to take that circle, I'm going to take this outline here, I'm going to change the line color back to black there because they're going to be construction lines. And then now I'm going to come back to my contour tool. I want to have a 0 millimeter contour spacing. I'll go with the toolpath, that's fine because it's 0 millimeters, makes no difference. This is going to be blue, and boom. And now what I've got here, let's just select that outline. Whoop. Let's select that outline and that circle, and look there, I've got my blue cutting out outline. That's what I want. And the rest of this is going to be black. But of course, we know that black lines do nothing on our laser cutter, but the black fill is going to give this nice engraving. Okay, same thing happening down here. So I need to select that line. Oh, no, I need to ungroup, Control U, that text with the outline. Now select this outline and that outline. Let's just change the color here to black. Then I'm going to get my contour tool again. It's in blue already. It's 0 millimeter contour spacing. Click on the outside edge, and now in the same way, I've got that contour and that blue cutout to attach the key ring, and we are looking really cool. Right, so now I am good to go. I've got my two parts ready. Let's group this one together, Control G. Let's group this one together, Control G. What I'm going to do here, what I would do at this point is I would bring these up to the top left corner so they're ready to put into the top corner of the laser cutter where the piece of material is I'm going to cut into. But I think we're pretty much there, aren't we? So I'm going to pause this right now, go to the laser cutter, and we'll see what comes out. Now, before I go any further, there's one thing I forgot to mention, and that is that I have to mirror this. If you remember, I had that design mirrored, and that is because the engraving on the acrylic, clear acrylic, always looks much better if we engrave on the back and then you see it through the acrylic with the top faces, this nice shiny finish. Okay, always looks, well, I think anyway, way better. So I forgot to do this. All I have to do is click on that little top button there and that will mirror it. So please, I hope you catch that. Otherwise I'm going to be going, oh, please mirror next time. Anyway, shut up. Let's let's move on. So here's the moment of truth. This is what we have. Those are our two key fobs, fresh from the laser cutter. This one here, hopefully you can see, is the one where I did the cutout that went to the C. That's this one here. I went into the Y, and then the other one, I'm just turn it around there, really the one above here. Bring the camera back. Here we go. The one above now is the one where I've just gone with my black lines to create the neat profile. And I think I thought that might be quite cool, but I'm really preferring this idea right here. I've got two keyring loops. So I've got a screwdriver here very carefully without stabbing myself, and do get someone to give you a hand here if you're struggling with this, or perhaps wear some gloves just to protect your hands. I'm going to push that through there, and hopefully I can then just link that onto the actual key fob itself. There we go. And because I reduced, hopefully you can see there, I reduced the thickness of the wall around the loop here. This is with going from 5 to 12 millimeters. So what's that? 2.5 up to 6. That's 3.5 millimeters here. I've taken that down to 2.5 millimeters for here, and hopefully that means that when I put on the key fob here, or the key loop, yeah, that's definitely snapped in here without stretching the spring there. That's definitely much better. Okay, so they are looking really cool. Okay, that's the end. I think we've got to the end. Bit waffly in places, but I think we've done it. Was there anything else I have to say here? I don't think so. That's awesome. That might go on the car keys. Who's to say? Brilliant. Okay, have fun.